particular client that the lash artist sent us their work. And so we're trying to see what are some things that the artist could have possibly improved on in this set, and what has been done really well, so for them to know to continue doing whatever they're doing, because obviously it's working. So on this work, first of all, I'd love to know what you guys think. I'd love to know if you could write us in the comments what you think of this particular work, and where you see some improvements that could be done. So from what I see is the direction is the first thing that is suffering here. So there's a lot of lashes that are crisscrossed like this. This is something that should not happen. Your lashes should, your client's lashes should be all mostly facing in the same direction and not getting crisscrossed, because that ends up looking a little bit messy. Additionally, if we zoom in, we can definitely see that there is excessive glue applied, which is something that tends to happen in beginning lash artists initially, because they're usually afraid to not put put too little, so that the eyelash extension will not stick. So they end up putting a little bit too much, and so what ends up happening is they get stickies, and stickies can be very uncomfortable for clients. They just basically 2 or 3 eyelash extensions stick onto the natural lash and ends up being like a glue clump, and then it can poke the client's eye and it can make them feel very uncomfortable. And also it can cause damage, obviously. So in this case, I could definitely see some stickies. I would love to know if you guys see some stickies. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Now, the inner corners, I could definitely see that this lash artist looks like they started with the middle of the client's eye and then moved on to the outer corners, at which point they started struggling with direction because the lashes are crisscrossed a little bit more in the inner corners, and then they kind of gave up a little bit on the outer corners. They were like, oh my goodness, it looks like maybe the client seemed rushed, or maybe it was taking too long, or maybe the artist was, you know, overwhelmed. So it looks like the outer corner seemed a little unfinished. I think this particular work could have been filled up a little more on the left outer corner. As you can see, there's a little sparse area towards the end. But overall, I mean, it's a decent beginner work. I think that the direction would be the first thing I would focus on. The stickies, I would definitely work on the stickies. One thing that you can check if you're having a lot of stickies, make sure that your glue is not too slow for you. Sometimes lash artists begin with a 2 to 3 second glue, and then they start getting faster, and they keep the same adhesive, and then what ends up happening is that they develop stickies because the glue hasn't had time to dry, and so it will stick to two lashes next to each other together. So make sure that you time yourself and you actually check to see what is your time to apply a lash extension, to isolate and apply a lash extension. If you've been lashing for more than 3-4 months, or even 6 months, it really depends on the lash artist, because it depends how many clients you do per day. But basically, at a certain point, you should be switching to a 1 second or a 0.5 second glue. And so that's something to check as well. That's what I would recommend for this particular lash artist. Additionally, this particular lash artist could practice working on isolation, making sure that the lashes are very well isolated when she or he applies them, because if they're not very well isolated, you apply the lash and then you move on to the next area of the eye that you're working on, what can end up happening is, once again, stickies in that area. So making sure that you practice on isolation, and you don't necessarily need to practice on a real client. You can practice on a mannequin, you can practice on these types of sponges. Here we were just practicing direction for one of our online courses. But the point is that you don't necessarily need to have a model in front of you. Like some lash artists will say, oh, well, I have no one to practice on, none of my friends want to do it, or my family is busy or whatever. Well, that's fine. If you have a sponge and you have a mannequin head, we have them on our website. You can just get one of those and just continue practicing isolation, practice placement, practice direction. It takes time. It takes time for your mind to get those micro movements and to start doing them automatically. There's a lot that your brain has to process as you're beginning. You have to remember to isolate. At the same time, you have to remember to make sure that you have 0.5 millimeters away from the eyelid that you're placing the lash, not too close to the eyelid. You have to remember to avoid stickies. You have to make sure your glue condition is perfect. You have to it's if you think about it, it's a lot. It's a lot for your brain to process. So that's why it's so important to practice these different aspects one at a time. So you pick a day, you practice placement. You pick another day, you practice direction. You pick another day, you try to figure out your condition in the room, make sure that your glue is adequate. You time yourself. You check out, okay, what is the speed? What speed should I be working on? Is it correct? Am I having retention problems? Why am I having retention problems? Is it the glue? Is it the client? Is it me? Like, what is it? We actually have a glue retention checklist that we have available. So I'll link that in the description in case you guys are interested. Check it out. It's really, really helpful. It just makes you go through all the different steps that you need to ensure to get really good retention. Okay. Oh, and another thing that you can do here for this particular lash artist is having a good lash mirror, because sometimes the client's eyes are closed, so you can't really see all the problems with direction as their eyes are closed, because there might be issues with direction on the lowest layer, and the lashes could be crisscrossed. So if you have a lash mirror, it actually helps you visualize all the layers, and then you can fix it before the client leaves. Okay, so that's another really important tip, is to make sure that you have a lash mirror to check, and be sure to check your work throughout the set, okay, not just in the end. So this is the last one, and this one is my favorite one because we can see a lot here and we can learn a lot. So from what it looks like to me, it does appear like the lash artist here started with the left eye outer corner because it looks really nice. It looks kind of fairly full. And then she moved on to the right eye outer corners. It also looks fairly full. And then it appears that she started getting maybe a little bit rushed or a little bit worried, panicked, anxious, or maybe the client was rushed, or possibly she did not have the right tools, or I mean, we don't know what the reason is, but what I see here is that the outer corners were done really well, and then the rest. So I know that this client this lash artist knows how to do direction really well. But what ended up happening is something happened from the middle of the eye to the inner corners. The left eye is not terrible, but the right eye could definitely use some work. You can see a lot of crisscross, like a lot of lashes are facing, doing crisscross, which is something that should not happen. We definitely also see too much adhesive. I can see that there's too much adhesive. There's possibly stickies, although we can't really see very well because it's a little bit blurry, but I would probably think there would be stickies because it seems like a little bit too much glue was applied, especially on the right eye. So what I would recommend for this artist is to first of all start with the inner corners. Secondly, do not rush. It's really important to take your time. The direction is something here that is crucial, and that's one thing I would recommend for this artist to work on is direction. Just take a sponge like this and just place your fans, make your fans and just place them next to each other. It's just gonna get your hand-eye coordination. It's gonna give you that special movements, fine motor skills. That's what I was thinking. Fine motor skills that you need in order to perfect the direction really well. Because I can see, I'm sure that this particular client, in a week or so, she probably lost a lot of the lashes on her right eye, or probably ripped them out because they were like hurting her or crisscrossed or uncomfortable. So that's what I would say. So huge concern with direction here. And you know, some issues with direction are milder than others. This one on the right eye is a big concern with direction, but as you guys can see in the previous work that we've shown, it's milder, but it's still a concern with direction. And the only thing you can do is practice. Like, there's no amount of courses that you can take for $2,000 a day, like that's gonna solve this. There isn't. There's no magical pill. There's no special solution. The only thing you can do is practice, and practice it daily if you can, and it's going to improve. That's the only thing you can do. There's really nothing else. Nobody can give you that knowledge. It's just something that you have to do and you have to practice. The other thing that might help here with isolation is working with different layers. So making sure you tape the upper lashes layers and isolate the lower layers so that you can see it very well, because it's very hard for, especially with clients that have really thick lashes, for beginners to actually see them really well. And a lot of beginners are scared to work with tape, and it's understandable because, you know, they're worried, like, oh my goodness, like what if I apply lashes on the lower layer and it like pokes the client in the eye? Like, yes, it's a valid anxiety concern, but the sooner you go through that anxiety and you start like actually applying lashes throughout the layers, the sooner you're going to see your work improve tremendously. And you can start raising your prices, you can start getting premium clients, you can start like evolving as a lash artist and being in the place you actually want to be. So that's so the gaps obviously are probably because of a lack of direction, not only a lack of direction, but also a lack of working with layers and working with tape. And that tape is incredibly important for lash artists. Like literally, like tape and patches like are like so key. That's why there's so many different patches on the market, so many different tapes, because it is so incredibly important. So, I mean, I could go on and on for this for hours, but we're gonna stop here. I just want you guys to please let us know if you like this video, if you found it helpful, so that we can continue these videos for you guys in the future, or if we should not and move on to something else, because the content we put for you here is not for us, it's for you guys. So whatever you guys find helpful, we do more of. And if there's something you don't like, or you don't find helpful, or you think it's useless, there's no point in us taking like an hour out of our day to do it, because obviously we're here to help you, to give you as much helpful information and value. So if there's something else that you prefer to see, we would love to know that as well in the comments. So kindly let us know. And if you want your work to be evaluated, please send it to us on Instagram, and we will be sure to help you guys out. So once again, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you once again for watching.